Hockey Canada trial ends in acquittal. All 5 accused found not guilty in sexual assault case. In a verdict that has sparked national debate and raised questions about institutional accountability, all 5 men accused in the high-profile Hockey Canada sexual assault case have been found not guilty by a Canadian court. The trial, which stemmed from allegations dating back to June 2018, involved former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team and had become a flashpoint in discussions around sexual misconduct in sports, corporate responsibility, and legal justice. The judgment came after weeks of detailed testimony, cross-examinations, and emotional statements. The accused, all of whom pleaded not guilty, expressed relief as the verdict was read, while the complainant, who had remained steadfast in her testimony, left the courtroom surrounded by supporters. Background: the incident that shook Canadian hockey. The alleged incident occurred after a Hockey Canada Foundation gala held in London, Ontario, in June 2018. A young woman came forward with claims that she had been sexually assaulted by multiple members of the junior national team at a hotel. Her report eventually led to a civil settlement with Hockey Canada, which later came under intense public scrutiny. When news of the settlement emerged in 2022, it ignited a national uproar. Not only were questions raised about the conduct of the athletes involved, but also about how Hockey Canada had handled the allegations behind closed doors. It was revealed that Hockey Canada had used funds partially drawn from registration fees paid by young players across the country to settle the case, a fact that caused outrage among parents and the general public. The scandal prompted parliamentary hearings, corporate sponsorship withdrawals, and the eventual resignation of several top executives at Hockey Canada. Public confidence in the organization plummeted, and major sponsors like Tim Hortons, Scotiabank, and Canadian Tire suspended their support. The trial, evidence, testimonies, and the legal process. The criminal trial, held in a London courtroom, focused on the accounts of the alleged victim and the 5 accused men. Each of the defendants testified in their own defense, denying the charges and describing what they said were consensual encounters. The complainant, who testified over multiple days, maintained that she had not consented to the sexual acts and that she had been intoxicated and violated by several individuals over the course of the night. Her testimony was emotional and detailed, though the defense teams aggressively cross-examined her, pointing to inconsistencies in her earlier statements. Legal analysts noted that the prosecution faced a difficult task. Sexual assault cases involving multiple accused and alcohol often hinge on nuances of consent and memory, particularly when there are no witnesses outside the alleged participants and little physical evidence. In his ruling, the judge noted that while the woman's testimony was powerful and sincere, the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt had not been met in relation to each of the 5 accused. He stressed that an acquittal did not mean the incident had not occurred, only that the evidence did not meet the legal threshold required for a conviction. Public reaction: relief, disappointment, and unresolved questions. As news of the verdict spread, reactions were swift and divided. For supporters of the accused men, the decision was a vindication of their long-held claims of innocence. Their lawyers argued that their lives and careers had been disrupted by a trial they believe never should have gone this far. Some hockey fans voiced relief that the matter had been resolved in court rather than in the media. However, many advocacy groups, survivors of sexual assault, and members of the public expressed disappointment and frustration, noting how difficult it is to secure convictions in such cases and how the court system can be re-traumatizing for survivors. This is exactly why so many victims of sexual violence don't come forward, said one women's rights advocate in a press statement. Even when you speak up, even when you're brave enough to face your abusers in court, the system can still fail you. Others pointed to the broader cultural issues in male-dominated sports environments, where locker room behavior and power dynamics can foster toxic conditions for women. Impact on Hockey Canada and the future of sports governance. While the court's decision has brought legal closure to the criminal case, Hockey Canada continues to deal with the long-term consequences of how it handled the matter internally. In 2022 and 2023, Federal lawmakers grilled Hockey Canada executives over their knowledge of the 2018 incident and the organization's decision to settle the civil suit in secret. The use of registration funds for legal settlements sparked bipartisan criticism and resulted in significant changes to the organization's leadership structure. Since then, Hockey Canada has pledged to improve its handling of abuse complaints, implement stricter codes of conduct, and work more closely with law enforcement when allegations arise. A third-party review of its governance, conducted by former Supreme Court Justice Thomas Cromwell, recommended sweeping reforms, many of which are still in the implementation phase. Whether those reforms will restore public trust remains to be seen. Broader implications. A cultural reckoning in sports. The Hockey Canada case is part of a larger cultural reckoning in professional and amateur sports across North America. From the U.S. gymnastics scandal to investigations in major soccer leagues, institutions are increasingly being held accountable for enabling or ignoring patterns of abuse and misconduct. This trial has once again highlighted how athletes, teams, and governing bodies must do more to foster environments of respect, transparency, and accountability. Legal experts also point to the need for better support systems for sexual assault victims, both within the sports world and in the justice system as a whole. The complainant in this case, while not successful in court, was widely commended for her bravery and persistence. Final thoughts. While the not guilty verdicts mark the legal end of the 2018 Hockey Canada